I think we got a good number. Thank you for recording, Anisha. And for those of you that don't have a computer, which is most of us, you can't see that screen really good, but they can see us really well. So just know that. And let me, yes. Okay, I'm gonna get it. I can just see it. Here, this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, usually I.
There we go. Mayor Graham, how are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you doing, Samino? Good to see
I'm
you.
doing fantastic. So why don't we dive in? I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, great to see everyone on the call. That's all.
It's
You're
great
good.
to see everyone as well. And why don't we just dive right in with a quick round of introductions to get us started, and then we'll dive right into the agenda. And we'll start with my good friend over here from T. Ramsey and Associates.
Mika Ramsey, T. Ramsey and Associates. Susan Hardy. He's beginning with the Pontiac Funders Collaborative.
Chanel Shelby, Oakland Hunter Schwartz, Pontiac.
Samino Scott, PCIP.
Isha Branner, E-Community Outreach Services. Coco Mulder, Pontiac Farm Zone. Dr. Arlene Williams, NAB.
Kyle Westberg, Flagstar Strand.
Lisa Majeski, Oakland Literacy Council.
Colleen Bale.
Andrea Meyer, Center for Success Network. Deidre Hertz, Oakland University.
Awesome. And
Hey y'all, my name is Tanya Medlock. I am a career and education navigator with Oakland 80. And welcome. I'm here in the Pontiac office.
awesome. And for those of you who are meeting with us virtually,
I'm Cal Talley with Oakland 80.
oh my goodness.
And good morning, all. This is David Bowman, Community Health Director for Trinity Health Oakland.
I'm Tom Kimball.
Go ahead, Brother Kimball.
I'm Tom Kimball.
Anisha Hannah, Pontiac Collective Impact Partnership.
Stuart Grigg from Grigg Graphic Services.
Good morning. I'm
Dr. Sheila Sherman from Pontiac School District.
Kelly Williams, Pontiac School District Superintendent.
We can have more chairs over here, folks. Yeah, or anyone who might need a chair.
good morning. I'm Tim Greimel, Mayor of Pontiac.
Janelle O'Keefe, Center for Community Progress.
Another chair here.
Ryan Hertz, CEO at Lighthouse.
Alex Borngesser, City of Pontiac.
Grand Rising, Brian.
You know this better than I do. You know, only.
Grand Rising, Brian Killian from Mayat Community Foundation and Reentry Program.
Chairs over here if anyone wants to join over here. And we're gonna dive right in to get started.
They are still doing introductions, like.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think we just, Alexis, did you introduce yourself? I think everyone else on virtually did.
I didn't. Chris Rutherford, Michigan College Access Network.
Thank you, Chris.
And this is Sarah Brockman-Chaup from the Tauber Family Foundation.
And we have Shannon joining.
Shannon, you want to say hello?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon Smith, Director of Housing and Community Development with Lighthouse.
Awesome. So let me get my presentation started here and we will dive right in. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, your calendar.
Ah, you can see my calendar. Okay.
Yeah, you don't want us to see that, man.
No, I don't. I don't want to see my calendar. Let me stop sharing.
Babe, I gotta go. This is me and I started.
Okay, I gotta go too.
Are you?
What's that? Oh, can't. So can everyone see my screen now?
Yeah.
Awesome. So let me begin by saying, really just giving a heartfelt thank you for so many of you being in the room today. We took probably a good 90 days off to reset. We realized that, we wanted to honor the true meaning of collective impact. And we really got into what I'm going to go over a bit earlier, or a bit later, about being in the exploration phase of the collective impact framework. But we're moving out of that, and I'm excited to really share what 2023 will look like. And so let me start by quickly going over the agenda. So I'll get started with our welcome and check-in, and then we'll turn to Superintendent Williams, who'll give us a quick update on the career academies within the school district. Then we'll hear from Mayor Grimo, who'll give us an update on a number of items that are taking place in the city. And then, of course, we are here at Michigan Works, and we're happy to hear from Chanel Shelby, who will talk about the 2023 summer job schedule that we have, that she's been working diligently on for the last few months. And then Dr. Lucarelli and I will talk to you a bit about our budget. We'll talk about the Michigan Health Endowment Fund and how that is going in partnership with the city. And Anisha and I will then dive into our organizational update. We'll talk about our strategic plan. We'll talk a little bit about our call to action. And of course, throughout that process, we definitely want to hear from you. So if you have any thoughts, any questions throughout, please don't hesitate. I know the lights are out now, so how does that look on camera? Do we need to get a bit more light? How are you guys looking out there?
Well, I think we're okay.
I think we're okay.
Yeah.
How are you guys
Focusing
feeling?
on PowerPoint.
Okay. All right, so let me check in real quick with you. So for those of you that are virtual and those of you that are here, you might just want to share your quick thoughts. We'll take about a minute to just check in. And so on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being being very important, how important is stable housing and food security to post-secondary education enrollment? When we talk about education, we don't always talk about those wraparound supports that take place with Susan and the Lighthouse. And so I just want to get your thoughts as we delve into really what our strategy will be around post-secondary education and how those wraparound support services can really aid and contribute to that. So virtually, if you could put it in the chat, and those of you that are here, if you could just really think through it. If you want to have any thoughts you want to share out, that will be fine as well. But of course, as you know, one of the unique thing about this collective impact partnership is that we have partners from really every facet of our community. And as we talk about our overall goal and our strategy, it really should include that. At least that's my thought, and I want to get your feedback as well.
Well, in terms of those who are in post-secondary education, depending on where they're at in their journey, say someone that's probably like in nursing school who may not have the ability to work as much, food security and housing is very important. And it's also one of those things that they shouldn't have to worry about while they're trying to complete that degree. So it's extremely, I would say 5.
And another reason why I asked that question is because about 5 years ago, I was a assistant football coach at the high school. And I remember having to, you're fine, Kano, sitting there. And I remember having to take some of the players to the Super 8 hotel because that's where they were living. And that was 5 years ago. And what I understand now is the Lighthouse has the entire apartment or hotel complex filled with our homeless population because they don't have a place to go. And so we know that we have children in our schools that are homeless, that are living in the hotel, and quite frankly, that might not be the worst circumstances that some of our homeless residents are enduring. Some are living in cars, quite frankly. So we have a lot to think about, and I just wanted to get your quick thoughts on that. So we won't spend a lot of time. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to dive quickly. And in fact, no, let's stick with the agenda. Superintendent Williams, I'm going to turn to you. I really want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to join us today, to really give us an update on the career academies at the high school. And the reason why that's so important today, and I know Dr. Sherman is with us as well, and perhaps can chime in, is because as we think about the upward mobility of our residents, it really starts with the type of employment opportunities that they have. And I know that some of us in the room today are working hand in hand with the high school with respect to the career academies to develop sound and relevant work-based learning experiences in career academies that have high demand and high wage areas. And Rosanna is one of my close partners in that, and I'm glad you're here today, and feel free to chime in as well. So without further delay, Superintendent Williams, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone, and I appreciate the opportunity to showcase our career pathways. We are very excited about the program that we have launched over the last 2 years. We now have onboarded Director Coordinator, Dr. Sherman, and you will hear from her shortly. But our career pathways bring the opportunities for our students to begin their long-term careers. While we recognize and understand that many of our students do not aspire to take the 4-year pathway of college or universities or an associate's degree, we wanted to make sure that we answered the demand of not only the community, but also the student voice, where they said, if I don't want to go to college, what other opportunities are afforded for me here in the Pontiac School District? And so as we began to explore those options, we enlisted several businesses around the community to begin to talk about the high demand. The first one that came about was in the healthcare area, which was one of the first ones that we launched in the district, our patient care technician program. We are now going into our 6th cohort this year, where we have enlisted 23 students. Out of the 23, all of them have graduated from the CNA program, and 8 of them have already passed their state exam and now have been working with local hospitals in the area that have partnered with the district and guaranteed them jobs. So this has been a very successful pathway, which was one of our first. We currently offer now the business finance, the certified nursing assistant, patient care technician, hospitality tourism, information technology, manufacturing, biomedicine, dual enrollment, and JROTC. And we are continuing to work with our NAF partners who help us to develop the curriculum for the students, as well as the local businesses to set those prerequisites. Because what we heard initially is that our students are not able to pass those skill set tests as they enter or find interest in these trades. So with that, we want to be able to prepare our students, have them have a plan once they walk across graduation stage. What are you going to do, and be able to enter into these careers? And at this time, I'll pause there and turn it over to Dr. Sherman, and then we'll answer any further questions.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to attend this meeting. As our superintendent said, she's being very modest. This was her brainchild. This was her vision for the district. And so I've come on board, and I want to help her expand the offerings that we make to our students in the Pontiac School District. It is very critical that we start conversations at a younger age to expose our students to the thought of having a career in a pathway. So we're not waiting until students get to the high school levels. We're starting from kindergarten. And as many of you know, as part of the Oakland school systems. They've given us a charge to make sure that we expose students through software, doing assessments to find out their areas of interest. And most of us know that they probably would change several times between kindergarten and high school. However, it's having those conversations and allowing them to explore the possibilities and to take what we're calling now career tours to workplaces to see if that is something that they're actually interested in. Many times, and I'm sure that somebody on this call can relate to not finding out that they weren't interested in a particular field after the fact, after either you studied in college one pathway and then you decided to change. I know that's true for myself, having started in technology, and now, as you can see, I'm in education. So we really want to start those conversations, exposing our young people to different talks of careers and having them explore. And we offer those pathways through various courses. As our superintendent stated, we use a NAV curriculum and many pathways, but they are getting those conversations, and we're talking about management, and we're talking about law and business, and we're doing welding and doing training through virtual means. So we're trying to really give them actual work-based experience, allowing our patient care technician students, they do clinicals. And so as the superintendent stated, many of them have already passed their state exams. And we know that across the field of education, discussions about trade and industry is increasing now. We're having a realization, and I think that COVID really highlighted sentiments that many have had, that they really don't want to go to school. And so we want to make sure that those students who are choosing an alternative route, such as a trade, that they really feel supported and they get the skills that they can need to enter the workforce and make a very viable living. If you have any specific questions, you can always feel free to contact me directly, and I can put my information in the chat.
Well, and I want to point out, thank you. You can pause it or mute it. Thank you, Dr. Sherman, Superintendent Williams. We also have Dr. Williams, who came in from Virginia, who is part of NAV. The district is not going through this process alone. They have an organization that
I'm sorry, Dr. Scott, but you're muted.
and so I want to introduce Dr. Williams to those of you that don't know her. I had to put.
You're muted on the computer.
Yeah, I should be off now. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, you're good now.
Okay. And to those of you that haven't had a chance to meet Dr. Williams, I just wanted to say hello.
Hello, everyone. Yes, we're working collaboratively with Pontiac and also with the entire region as relates to supporting students to make career decisions by choice and not by chance. And also working to form a regional advisory board so that we could provide a continuum of work-based learning experiences for all of our youth, especially in our new path.
You can't really hear her.
Okay. And so thank you, Dr. Williams. Rosanna, you want to come over here and take my seat for just a moment?
I won't take your seat, but in context to what Dr. Sherman was saying about exposing students from kindergarten and beyond to different career paths, GM is going to start their World in Motion program. We've been talking with Stacy Jackson in the district in January. So January 30th through March 24th. We haven't figured out the specific details of every school, but the reason why I bring that up here is a World in Motion is kindergarten through 8th grade. It exposes them to engineering concepts, but also exposes them to things that you can use in medical, math-based, design of experiments, so in labs and those type of things. So it's a real great foundation for that next step. And I want to bring it up here because we need volunteers. So a lot of the GM employees are volunteering. but we could use up to 100 volunteers to fully support every classroom in every school. And really want to do that because we've heard from our interns that that was the catalyst of getting them excited about a STEM-based education, which fits into the career pathways and NAF and those type of things. So I wanted to share that. And you know, we do the fifth graders come and do a field trip with us in May, so we want to continue that. So please, if anybody is interested in those things, please let me know. And we would love to have you as volunteers. We'll train everybody. If you got a good solid math or, you know, engineering background, even if you don't, we can use your volunteer work.
Yes, what's the time commitment for a volunteer?
Thank you for that. It is 1 hour in the classroom a week. So it's 7 weeks, 1 hour in the classroom. We ask for 30 minutes prep. So I would say 2 hours, 2.5 hours a week for that 7 to 8 week period. Thank you.
The question was, what is the time commitment? So thank you for clearing that up, Rosanna. And any thoughts or questions for Superintendent Williams or Dr. Williams or Dr. Sherman? So I had the pleasure when working with United Way to visit career academies in Tennessee, in California. They really look different. They feel different when you are in the school. You can sense that you're in a space that is designed for a particular career. And in the case of the Pontiac School District right now, we're looking at engineering, business, health science, hospitality and tourism. And there's one more that I'm missing. And technology, absolutely. And so I think you'll find some similarities between what Jennifer and Chanel are doing at the adult level as well, but also some at the high school level that you'll hear about shortly. So any closing thoughts, Dr. Superintendent Williams? You're on mute, I'm sorry.
Thank you for your continued support. We are continuing to expand in this area, and the partnership with all of the local businesses, NAF, has been very successful. We appreciate the work and the dialogue that has taken place thus far. And again, we're still continuing to grow the program. So if you have areas that you would like to discuss, please reach out to myself or to Dr. Sherman.
Thank you. Okay, so moving right along, thank you so much for that update.
Hold on one second.
So I'm going to turn now to Mayor Grimo for an update from the city.
Thank you very much, Samino, and again, great to see everyone. Appreciate all of your amazing work, Samino, with the Pontiac Collective Impact Partnership. And I know that so many of the participants on this call are regular contributors to that partnership. So I want to thank all of you for everything that you do for the people of our city. I wanted to touch base on a few items. One is to give folks an update as to where things stand with the American Rescue Plan dollars that the city has received from the federal government. As many of you know, the city last year, back in 2021, received almost $38 million from the federal government as part of the American Rescue Plan Act. City Council has now allocated those dollars to different buckets of activity. And Alex Borngesser, the director of our Grants and Philanthropy Department, and her team will be developing specific proposals within each of those buckets, and we'll be rolling those out over time. So I think it's fair to say that about every 3 months, we will be bringing more specific programming proposals before council for city council approval. But at this point, we've allocated these dollars by bucket and general program topic, and I wanted to give everyone an update as to those buckets and how much has been allocated to each of them. All of these are designed to improve either the quality of life here in the community for residents or to expand economic opportunity for residents, or both. This is not in any particular order, but one category is parks. We have amazing parkland here in the community, but it has not been well maintained. That affects, of course, recreational opportunities for people of all ages, especially young people. But it also affects property values. It affects perception of Pontiac. And we want to make sure that we as a city government are taking care of our own assets, including parkland, and performing those basic core city government functions as well as possible. So we have allocated a total of about $6 million to park improvements. 4 million of those dollars are allocated towards more local neighborhood and mini parks, while $2 million is allocated towards the larger 7 community parks, meaning parks that are large and really serve the entire community. The thought here is that, and actually, Alex, I know you're on the call. Maybe you should, if you're able to, share your screen so that people can see a visual of this as well while I speak. And I know if you scroll down a little bit, the categories will be visible. The idea, by the way, behind not just the parks category, but really all of these categories, is that we want to amplify these dollars and really leverage these dollars by going out and seeking matching dollars. We're pursuing that with Oakland County. We have begun pursuing that with private foundations as well. So our hope is that we can get matching dollars really in all of these categories, so that the impact of these investments will be amplified and magnified in the community. The next category is that of a community center. We are in the final stretch here of finalizing a selection of a site for a permanent city-owned community center that will function as a youth recreation center, and in the broader and longer term may function a broader need for other residents as well beyond just our youth. And we've allocated $3 million to that purpose of acquiring property and building a community center. That's just ARPA dollars. In addition, the previous city council had set aside about $3 million in a specific designated fund here at the city for that purpose as well. So that would bring the total to $6 million. And then again, we hope to seek matching dollars so that we can really amplify the impact of that. The next category is assisting residents with home repairs. We really want to make sure that we're doing more to assist home ownership. That includes both helping current homeowners with home repairs. It also, if I may digress for just a moment, it also includes trying to do more to help people acquire homes and become homeowners and transition from renters to homeowners. We are proposing to use about $400,000 in community development block grant dollars to pay 50% of the required down payment for low and moderate income homeowners here in the city. So again, that's not a use of ARPA dollars, but we are proposing that to City Council, and we anticipate City Council voting on that this coming Tuesday. That's pretty innovative. I don't think the city has ever provided grants to homeowners here in the city in order to help people afford the buying of homes. So we're excited about that program. It certainly is a reflection of our commitment to help people a better access home ownership. In terms of the ARPA dollars here, we're proposing to allocate $3.5 million to assist homeowners with repairs to their homes. This is important, obviously, from a number of perspectives. One reason why it's important is we've dramatically increased the number of code enforcement inspectors here in the city. We are cracking down on blight, and while certainly landlords and many residents can afford to make needed improvements to their properties, we know that we have a lot of homeowners here in the city who would like to maintain their properties, but simply can't afford to do so. And so this tranche of money, $3.5 million, is designed to assist them with that. This is really a bridge to us bringing back in-house this coming year the administration of our CDBG and home fund dollars. Emergency managers about 12 years ago transferred the administration of our CDBG and home fund dollars to the county. That's been particularly damaging in the context of home funds, where although we are responsible for a disproportion of those home fund dollars flowing to the county because of the income demographics here in the city, they are effectively intermingled with other county dollars and spread out to assist people around the county. And so we really don't get our fair share of those home fund dollars here in Pontiac. We're aiming to change that by bringing the administration of those home funds and CDBG dollars back in-house next year. But in the meantime, this $3.5 million will be a real shot in the arm to assist homeowners here in the city. We've also allocated $500,000, $500,000 to promote public safety here in the city, and another $500,000 to promote arts and culture here in the city. We've also allocated a substantial amount of funds to support infrastructure here in the city. ARPA dollars are not generally available or permissible to use for road repairs, but they are permissible to use for a variety of other categories of investments. That includes lake water quality remediation. We have a lot of lakes here in Pontiac, but they are underutilized for recreation, in part because many of them are polluted. And we want to make sure that we're at least beginning the process of remediating that water pollution in our city so that we can better open up these lakes for all of our residents to enjoy. We also know that we have a lot of underground stormwater sewer needs. The water lines and sanitary sewer lines in Pontiac are not owned by the city. They're owned by the County Water Resources Commission and are the Water Resource Commission's responsibility. But stormwater lines in the city are the city's responsibility, and they need a lot of work. They've been underinvested in for decades, and we've committed $2 million to, first of all, diagnosing some of those problems by sending underground cameras into those lines, and we've received some grant dollars specifically for that, separate from ARPA, but also to actually make the needed repairs to our stormwater sewer. In addition, we've allocated $1 million for pedestrian enhancements and other DPW infrastructure needs. Some of that obviously will help make our community a more walkable community, which will help people who may not have cars get to work through walking or bicycling, also get to school, but also just enhance the basic quality of life in the community by making it more walkable. And then we've also allocated $1 million to blight removal here in the community. Again, one of the focuses of our administration is really cracking down on blight in the community. There is some city-owned blight in the community as well, and we want to make sure we're leading by example by addressing blight that is directly under the city's control. And so some of these dollars may be used for that purpose. And then the last, but perhaps one of the most important categories here is economic development. We know that although the city hasn't done much of this in the past, we know that we have an obligation to really promote economic development and investment in a way that doesn't just benefit big businesses and wealthy investors, but mostly benefits everyday Pontiac residents. And we're committed to that. And this investment category of economic development to the tune of $7 million really reflects that value and that priority. So we've allocated $2.5 million for small business support that will include some technical assistance, really helping small businesses, new entrepreneurs understand what they need to know in order to successfully operate a business. That could include everything from initially setting up an LLC to doing payroll and preparing business tax returns and putting together a marketing plan. But also getting access to needed capital through grants and or small business loans that are either zero interest loans or very low interest loans, probably some combination of those two things to make sure that our local entrepreneurs, residents here in the city who own small businesses can get access to the capital they need to start up, to grow, and to succeed. We've also allocated $3 million to placemaking and development, and another $1.5 million to career preparation and workforce development, including breaking down some of the barriers that prevent people from accessing workforce development and career preparation, including making sure that those who want to seek higher education or training can get assistance affording healthcare, or excuse me, childcare, so that they can actually access that career prep and don't need to stay home taking care of kids, but can afford that childcare with city assistance so that they can actually get that needed training and education. So this gives a pretty good overview of where we, together with City Council, have allocated our ARPA dollars. And like I said, we'll be rolling out more specifics about every 3 months. We'll be programming certain areas of these and bringing those proposed programming approaches to City Council for their approval. Again, our Director of Grants and Philanthropy has really been heading this up, and I'd like to give her, Alex, an opportunity to chime in if she has anything to add. Alex?
Thanks, Mayor. No, you did a great job of outlining our plan for next year and really the time between now and 2026. So I look forward to rolling these projects out each quarter and working with the community to make sure that they're delivered appropriately, conveniently, and equitably.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Mayor Grimo. You know, we've had questions about the ARPA dollars now for probably going on a couple years. And I want to salute the mayor and his team, and also Councilwoman James, who's here with us today, for the work that they've done to itemize that the spending of those dollars down, $36 million. Councilwoman James, anything you wanted to add?
No, other than that, we're happy with the plan that we have. We feel that we have had amazing community input into the plan. So we're happy with it and hope that, we're ready to get started with implementation.
Awesome, awesome. And so one last thing that the mayor, Mayor Grimo, did not highlight that I would like to take advantage of, Mr. Phillips, who is the chairperson of the anti-violence task force started by the mayor, to just give us a quick update on where we are today and where we're headed.
Well, the anti-violence task force, I want to go ahead and thank also City Council as well as the mayor. As we all know, there was a huge uptick in violent acts that was taking place in the community of Pontiac. Those upticks, resulted into this day 12 murders that we've had in the city. That's 12 murders too many. So ultimately, it prompted City Council and the mayor to come together to try and find some type of alternative to go ahead and try to counteract some of the things that were taking place inside the community. So the outcome of that was, it was a task force that was put together. That was it ended up ultimately being 23 individuals that were picked from various walks of life inside the community. They had some different types of impacts from a multitude of things, whether it be civism, whether it be economics, whether it be career path readiness, whether it be faith-based, whether it be law enforcement. It was a need to bring all these minds together to be able to go ahead and try and come up with the best plan humanly possible to try to go ahead and kind of change the ship around and send it into another direction. So from that, with the anti-violence task force, we end up coming together and we end up having 11 different committees that was put in place to go and try and tackle some of those things. Some of the individuals on this task force is actually in the room right now. Started with Dustin in the back with funding. We have Pastor Jones back there with the faith-based dynamic and also the mental health committee, a mental health committee. We have Tamika over here with her expertise in economics. So, and also too, we have you, Dr. Scott, on a couple of different committees, one being education, which is also absolutely imperative that we go ahead and start jumping. We start being more proactive with kids as opposed to reactive. So that's why we started putting some things in place to go in and touch kids, on the ground level. So we can possibly guide their pathway to be look to do some other things besides some of the destructive paths they end up finding themselves falling into as they go back into their neighborhoods, in a lot of cases, some of the households. So from that, we end up putting a bunch of different initiatives in place. And we end up coming out with a four-part push. First part was dealing with children, like we were just talking about, the educational system. So ultimately what we decided to go ahead and do, number one, it's kind of hard to help people. We as adults sometimes want to go ahead and tell kids exactly what we feel like they need to go ahead and do, but a lot of times we don't even listen to them and find out what their problems are. So we put together a committee of kids to go ahead and have their own, basically a committee like ours, to be able to go ahead and kind of keep us caught up on some of the things that's taking place in their world, so we can go ahead and give them the help that they need. That's the first thing. We did that by setting up what we call reverse town halls. These are town halls that we have that were led by kids, facilitated by kids, and the panel are by kids. And they get a chance to go ahead and address some of these things that are plaguing them in their households, neighborhoods, and inside of the schools. And as the first one that took place over at ATAP, it was absolutely huge because it was an educational piece that we got. These kids kind of gave us a master class on a lot of the things that's really taking place in that world for us to be more conscious as we look to go ahead and provide solutions for them. Second one is coming up with PAE. I'll be meeting with her today to get that up and going. The school district were unable to do it because fortunately, the fortunate part is that they're getting a facility that's going to look like new and state of the art. The unfortunate part is it's not ready. So we don't have any place to be able to house that many kids. So we're going to have to do that at the top of the year. But we're going to go ahead and do PAE. ATAP was amazing. PAE, I'm looking forward to it. School district, I'm absolutely looking forward to it. Because once again, we need this information to be able to go ahead and do right by it. Second part we did is we had to go and attack the recidivism piece. We have so many men and women that are coming home, but the reality is resources have been stripped. Bottom line to it, they don't even know where to go. They don't understand the magnitude of, well, we don't understand the magnitude of things they need to go ahead and help them get a one-up. So they don't end up having to go back to what's familiar, which is going right back to the same thing they probably had to practice that will possibly put them in this particular state. Because ultimately, if you have kids in the household and you got mouths to feed, if you can't go ahead and make it happen because no one's not even giving you a chance to get a job, then ultimately you got to go ahead, something's going to have to give. And what's probably going to give, they're going to go right back to the streets. So that's why we got this committee in place. And so from that, we're going to have something called a Day of Recidivism Fair. It's going to be a huge event. It's going to take place at the top of January. By the end of January. Basically, what's going to happen there will be a panel that we're going to go ahead and have people from from the legislative side, from state legislation, county legislation, and city legislation is going to sit on one side, and they're going to, on the other side of the panel, we're going to have individuals who have fought through these challenges, trying to go and catch their footing as they came back into the community. And so it's time for them to go ahead, because the purpose of us doing that is a lot of them don't understand some of the depths of some of the challenges that they're experiencing, especially when you start talking about workforce. Bottom line to it is the quickest way to make crime disappear is you give someone a job. And so ultimately, we got to go ahead and prepare and put them in a better spot. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do with that particular panel. From there, they're going to have an expungement fair that's going to take place. All of this in the same day. It's gonna be an expungement period that's gonna happen. That you have to write it directly after that particular session. And while people are going through that expungement fair, there's gonna also be a job fair. It's gonna be a multitude of jobs to go in and help individuals find some adequate employment. You know, unfortunately, there's not a lot of people out here who feel like because someone should be lucky to go in and get a job of any sort of, you know, it's still slamming, you know, they're not looking at living wages. They're slamming, you know, they would go ahead and slam minimum wage at people. That's not gonna be an adequate way for people to go ahead and survive. So that's what we're looking to go and do with that fair. Third thing that we have in place is we went out, myself, Dr. Scott, Angela, Commissioner Powell, and also the mayor. We ended up going out to Jackson, Michigan. Ultimately, we want to take a look at the ceasefire program. We've been meeting with the U.S. Attorney, Dawn Eisen, multiple times. The actual county, which is Oakland County Prosecutor, Karen McDonald's office, you know, and also too, of course, city. We've been meeting to go ahead and try and figure out what would be some adequate way, what are some things other cities have been doing over around the nation. Sizable cities as well as smaller cities. So what came from that was, it was presented to us as a ceasefire dynamic program. So, but what we wanted to do is be able to go ahead and see firsthand what ceasefire could do. So we ended up going up to Jackson, Michigan to go ahead and see them roll it out. And it was a unique opportunity because Jackson, Michigan, they end up getting presented ceasefire about 3 years back. Ultimately, they got the curriculum and they thought they can go ahead and mimic it themselves. So they went out and decided to go ahead and push ceasefire back because they thought it was too expensive. And they end up going and moving forward and trying. It failed miserably. So it ultimately, and then the pandemic hit. So what came out of that pandemic was ARPA funding. So now they have more expendable money to be able to go ahead and focus into that crime dynamic. And so they decided to go ahead and bring in ceasefire. And so ultimately, we got a chance to go ahead and see the rollout of it because we wanted to go and see firsthand what it could possibly go ahead and do for our community. From that, you know, with the mayor, I'm sorry, did I say the mayor was up there too?
Yes, you did.
Okay. So from that, what we ended up coming up with, we felt like this was something that would be an adequate potential resource for us to go and really change this around. What makes it so strong is it employs, you know, community influencers, people that have that voice inside the neighborhoods, inside the schools, inside the households, to be able to affect change. Because ultimately, you know, law enforcement can't do it by themselves. Ultimately, you know how this goes in our neighborhood. Law enforcement become a lot of times that relationship, they're scared because that's what's been jammed home so many times. Even though a lot of times they're here to go in and help, but you know, and also some of the track record that's been taking place nationwide. We already know what's been happening from a nationwide standpoint. So it brings people that have a voice inside the community to go ahead and insert themselves inside of these dynamics to become violence interrupters. That's what the whole purpose of this program is. So with them and utilizing their voice. And so that's what's going to make this so impactful. So that's a suggestion that's going to that they got to go ahead and work out for you as city council between the mayor's office. But that is a suggestion from the Anti-Violence Commission to be able to go ahead and push that forward. Also from the educational piece too, I left out one small thing. We went and met where a lot of times the school district is confronted with people coming in there trying to tell them what they want to do. We decided to go ahead and sit down and ask the superintendent what it was that she needed. And so what she indicated that she needed was, she needs a full-time mentoring program inside the schools, in the high school and also in the junior high school level. So what we decided to go ahead and do is I got with our funding committee, you know, Dustin's been a part of that, Angela Powell, the county, Barb, the county's been amazing for us. And we've been trying to go ahead and locate funding opportunities for us to be able to give the superintendent in the school district what they need, what they feel like they need to go and be able to kind of change some of the direction around and the mindsets of some of these kids. And so right now, we are currently in the process of, we went for a grant for $4 million, $1 million a year. It's what it is. Highly competitive. So I'm not going to, you know, I got my fingers and my toes crossed, and I hope that we go ahead and get it. So what I had decided to go ahead and do is I found someone who got the grant before to go ahead and have her write for it. I had to pay her a sizable amount of money, you know, but ultimately it was worth it. If we can get that type of money in place, that the funding that's going to come out of that will go ahead and pay for the ceasefire program. It would go ahead and pay for the programs dealing with the sheriff department and go ahead and try and bridge this gap between understanding and lack thereof inside of the community when it comes to law enforcement and the community relationship. It'll also going to give us everything we need in the educational system to be able to fund and provide the school district everything that they're going to go ahead and need. And in the other schools, it's going to go ahead and need any particular assistance too. So I think I just covered all of that. Trying to go ahead and be mindful of your time.
Well, I want to thank you, Kano, for your leadership in leading the Anti-Violence Commission, and really appreciate all the members of that commission. You've all been doing incredible work. I know that you and I, Kano, regularly talk and collaborate, and really excited about rolling out these initiatives in the coming months. And I also want to acknowledge Councilwoman Kathleen James, who's on the call, who's an active member of the Anti-Violence Commission, and really appreciate all of your leadership on council, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor Grimer. And so we're really being intentional about the updates that we get, because in 2023, we are prioritizing post-secondary education enrollment, career readiness, and safety. So that's why you're hearing a lot of what you're hearing, but we really could not scratch the needle on career readiness without working hand in hand with Michigan Works in the county. And so with that, I want to turn to my good friend Chanel for an update. You want me to pull my
Do you need me to come closer?
please, by all means.
Oh, I don't like the camera, you know I'm shy.
We can cut.
Okay, well, first, thank you, Semino, for having us, and no, I'm okay. And I also want to make sure I leave time for my fearless leader, Jennifer Llewellyn, who's here as well to provide updates. This summer, Pontiac Summer Project could not have been successful with all of you guys' support. Honestly, when Semino first came and say, hey, what can we do to partner to help the youth program improve in Pontiac? And the partners he brought, bringing on the city, the Murphy Park, and was one of our biggest work sites. So thank you, Mayor Grimer, for that support. We also had 3 youth that worked in City Hall as well. But let me get to the most important thing, the numbers. Everyone wants to know how well we did. I'm happy to announce, we have a little flyer, oh, thank you, that we worked with 11 local employers here in the city of Pontiac. We employed 70 youth throughout the summer. The average wage was about $13.85, so almost $14 an hour. And we paid almost $260,000 in wages just from the summer. And that summer time frame was from June to August the 30th. We had a couple of work sites in September, but pretty much that was the whole summer. Kids were working 40 hours a week at prevailing wage. And prevailing wage is important, right? Kano just talked a little bit about how having that self-sufficient wage for returning citizens is important. It's just as important for our youth. Those of us who live, work in the community, we know our youth here work to buy their own school clothes. Their parents can't afford Jordans. They work so that they can have the needs to help support their household, which is unfortunately, but we understand that. So I know our goal was 150, but to hit 150, we would have been paying them minimum wage, which at the time was the 985. So we decided to pay prevailing wage, meaning if they're working with Semino and he has a receptionist and they're doing reception work and that receptionist is paying $14 an hour, we're paying our youth in the summer to pay $14 an hour to work 30 hours at Semino's office. So I want to really highlight that was the importance of why we spent a lot on our wages. And to be honest, to have a very transparent moment, I almost went broke. Jennifer laughing, but it was a conversation I had with her. She had to really utilize her resources at the county and find additional dollars to help support, my center, because I spent all of my youth funding on this project. I didn't want to be like the previous provider, although I know I have hiccups to correct, and I'm going to roll those out, but I didn't want to give any money back. So my goal was to spend everything, but I spent too much that I almost couldn't support myself. So that was a good lesson that I learned, but I'm happy, So I'm happy about that. Our yearly total that we spent on wages for youth for the program year for WIO, which was July 1 to 6/30, was almost $361,000. So the money that the county has invested in this city and the way that we're working together to spend it, I am so happy. I mean, I know we had some hiccups, like I said, with a lot of the intake, and I'm gonna have a whole calendar for you guys, so you'll know how 2023 is gonna operate. But the support with the local employers, with you guys promoting the program, referring people, I can honestly say that I think the summer was a true success. So thank you so much for your support. Now, 2023 is gonna look different. We're actually gonna start our intake process super early. I'm working with the county, our program manager, Brooklyn, who's over the youth program for the county. We're working on a timeline. So in late January, we're gonna have the flyer out where we're gonna promote our information sessions. That's gonna be held virtual in February. And the information sessions is when the parents and the students could come learn about the program, learn about the expectations, right? February and March, we're gonna do intake. We're not waiting until June. We're not waiting until May. We're doing intake early. So that intake process is where they come and they bring their eligibility documents. They do their mandated testing. We see what type of barriers that they have, which a lot is transportation. So we want to make sure that we go ahead and get them lined up to get their support services, right? In April, everyone will receive their congratulation letter. Everyone will know who's approved for the program. So we'll have an idea in April, how many students are gonna need employment. In May, we haven't figured out exactly what we're gonna call this day. Right now, I think we're still calling it Work Permit Day, Jennifer, and Samino is on board. We're gonna have a work permit day where we're gonna actually bring Nancy over to the center once we get permission for Superintendent Williams to come over and sign the work permits. During that time, they're going to get their work permit signed. We're gonna have a food bank here to give away food. Samino is going to either provide gas cards or provide lunch. That day, we're still working on that. So lunch, so it's gonna be lunch for the parents and students as a way like, hey, congratulations, your child is officially enrolled to the program. Here's some additional resources. We will be offering resources to the parents as well as that day. And then June 20th till August the 25th will be the timeline for the youth for their summer program. Okay. There's another piece for employers as well. Mirroring the youth and parent orientation. So in February, we have those information sessions with employers. So if you want to be a new work site this year, so shout out to Ascend, the city. Ascend, you had about 21 students throughout the program. I think the city, if you combine the park and City Hall, had about 25 students. So that was 50 right there, close to 50 were like our two major sites. So if you know anyone that'd be interested in hosting and being a work site, we will have those information sessions where they can learn what the requirements are. So that will be in February. In March, we'll actually do the site visits because we want to make sure that they are legit employers. Not trying to be shady, but we did have a couple employers who wasn't correct. Those of us who live in Pontiac know what I mean. So we will visit the sites to make sure that it's safe. Let them know their requirements, go over our mandated postings, etc. And then in April, as far as employers go, we'll start sending the kids to interview. Right, so in May, everyone knows where they're working. In June, they'll be ready to start. So the marketing material is going to be consistent. It's going to be a flyer for both programs. It's going to be promoted on the Oakland County Mission Works website. It's going to be promoted throughout our system here. Samino is going to share it. We're going to have registration links for individuals to sign up. So no one should not know that they didn't hear about our youth program. We want it to be bigger and better than this year. But if we're going to hit that 150 mark, we're going to have a tough conversation. I can't go broke again this year, right? So if we want 150, I may not be able to do prevailing wage. And that's gonna just be an honest conversation. We may have to do that minimum wage mark, which in January, it goes up to 1010. However, if an employer is willing to pay the difference, if you want to pay someone $14, you can pay the additional $3 and change if we're paying the 1010. So the student can still get prevailing wage. And we'll have those conversations. But I just wanted to know, let you guys know, if we're gonna hit that 150 mark, we won't be able to do prevailing wage. I mean, because I pay prevailing wage for everyone. Every student. No one was really making minimum wage except with. So I know I went pretty fast, but I know Jennifer has to leave at 11, so I wanted to leave some time for her. Okay.
Morning, everyone. First of all, I want to commend Chanel for her leadership.
Yes.
And thank all of you for your partnership and friendship to launch a successful summer program this past year and to expand that this year. And Chanel is not lying that she went broke. I think we had $19 left. And so we were kind of scrambling at the county to find other resources, and thankfully we did do that. We've been aggressive in trying to pursue other dollars to continue to support this program. We did apply for a $400,000 grant, out of school youth grant through United Way. There were 70 applicants. They chose 30. Unfortunately, we were not one of them. We just learned yesterday. And we're also working with the Michigan legislature and the other 15 Michigan Works agencies advocating for an $80 million investment in youth employment programs through Michigan Works. So that's one of our top legislative priorities. And we're hopeful with the new legislature that they will see value in that investment, because that could really make that jump to 150 much easier, but we can only work within the parameters of funding that we have available to us. But if I can make mention of a few other items while I have your attention, I did want to mention, Kano talked about expungement. We do have the Oakland County Clean Slate Program. We are still taking applicants. We provide expungement services at no cost, including the coverage of an attorney. We have an attorney on my team who's extraordinary. Just last week, you might have seen the press release that we've now expunged 250 records successfully for Oakland County residents. There's a very simple application on our website where folks can apply. You should know it is a lengthy process. And most of it is due to the backlog at the Attorney General's office. It is taking upwards of 9 to 10 months for them to release the approval and records to our attorney so that we can get to court. But the stories are powerful. I've cried 3 times during the hearings because it's so transformational. So transformational for our community. So please, if you have individuals that reside in Oakland County, please encourage them to apply for those services. Also, quick mention, we have 4 free training programs coming up in partnership with Oakland Community College, and information sessions are starting in December and in January. We will be offering the sterile processing technician program in partnership with OCC and our major health systems, our certified nursing assistant program, our CNC advanced manufacturing program, and our cybersecurity technician program. Individuals who are eligible receive free tuition for those courses at OCC. We can provide supports like transportation and other supports if they need it to be successful in education. They earn industry recognized credentials and certifications, and we already have employers lined up to hire them at completion. And then last are the county's American Rescue Plan dollars. We have 1,000 childcare scholarships available at $1,200 each. We have distributed 600 of those, so we only have about 400 left. And again, individuals can apply right on our website. They are required to use a licensed childcare facility. That payment is made directly to the licensed childcare facility on their behalf so that it doesn't interfere with maybe food assistance benefits or cash benefits or unemployment benefits. And again, we have about 400 left. So they are first come, first serve. And we also have dollars available if folks are in transition to education or employment. We have funding available to help, cover the purchase of work clothes or transportation, car repairs, If they're working with Tanya and our Oakland 80 team, we can cover books. If they have previous student debt that's interfering with their ability to enroll at OCC or Oakland University, we can address some of that as well. So I can't say enough about, getting folks connected to Tanya and Chanel and their team. And I apologize, I have to leave early for another meeting, but I just want to thank all of you for your continued support and partnership. We're extremely thankful and lucky to have all of you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. I wanted to thank the Bomber Foundation because our incentive payments that you see on the screen is from Bomber funding. So we were able, for those youth that completed training, we were able to give them up to $250 for an incentive payment. So that's going to be their Christmas gifts. They don't know, but I finally were able to process all 71 checks. So they're gonna start receiving those checks this month, and that was a total of 17,000. So as Jennifer said, how we're always trying to be flexible with our funding, that Bomber support is gonna help pay for our extensive payments. Okay.
Awesome,
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you both so much for sharing that. And that is really important to get that information. And I also want to point out that the next step in that, right? Because one, we want to spend all those federal dollars down. As Chanel said, we don't want to give any federal money back. At the same time, we know that there are organizations, the Amazons, the UWMs, the Water Commissioner's Office that had their own summer internship program, General Motors. And so at our position at PCIP is not to make everyone come under the same umbrella. Do what you're doing. What we're trying to do is develop a shared data system where we can come to a common understanding or agreement around the dates that Chanel just mentioned, so that we know that during that time, we want to provide summer jobs to our youth. And if GM is doing something, what we're going to ask Rosanna to do is let us know how many kids you have, but take it a step further. And if you can, provide us with disaggregated data. So we know how many males, how many females, how many Hispanics, how many Blacks, how many whites, so that we can begin to create our own network of knowing really what's happening in our city. Because right now, we really don't know. We have so many groups doing different things. And last year, we approached it in a way that, as Anisha and I sat back and reviewed it, we really thought we should just take a different approach. Let's target a date, a window, and let's just work together, right? Our task is to be conveners. So I just wanted to highlight that, so that 150, 125, whatever that may be from Michigan Works, can we get another 150? Right? Can we shoot for 300? I mean, that's something that we have to finalize in the strategic action team meetings, but we'll be doing that with Chanel, with Jennifer, with Kano, with Rosanna, with everybody really that's providing summer jobs. And as a leadership team, our task is really, Susan, can you get one kid, right? And I'm just picking on you for a moment, but right. And if we all really just lean in, I think we can identify an aspirational target and track it. And Jen, I don't know if the guys from what's that organization that does the data systems?
The technical
Reciprocity, if this might be a good opportunity for them to help build this system so that everyone has their own login to go in and just give us numbers, right? We don't need data that, that is too personal, just generic data. So just something to think about. Now, I want to, again, thank you, Chanel, for sharing that, and also sharing your home with us too. Right. So I'm going to turn to my good buddy in this work, Dr. Lucarelli, and thank you, Mayor Grimo, as well, and Alex, who has been working on some budget items, and give a quick update on the Michigan Health Endowment Fund. For those of you that don't recall, Jennifer was successful in writing a $250,000 grant, the 2-year grant, and I won't steal her thunder. I'll let her tell you what it was about and how it's coming.
Yeah, so I will be super quick. So the Health Endowment Fund grant is really looking at structural supports for physical activity in the community. And so there's 2 pieces of it. One of it is park planning. And so part of the funding is going to the city of Pontiac to do some really community-driven park planning that will then lead into some of the funded projects that the mayor mentioned previously. And then the second piece of it is the Youth Enrichment Collaborative. And so we had an opportunity to pilot test that this past summer. And we brought together organizations for shared learning and resources. They created a collaborative brochure that included all youth opportunities sponsored by any organization in the city, and distributed that at a collaborative event in which all of the organizations were able to talk with the community. And so we've got funding to be able to support that. And so that will be relaunching again in January, starting with a needs assessment. So that's where we're at with that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the brevity. And so I have some exciting news as well. And I first of all want to take really just a heartfelt thank you and great deal of appreciation to the Pontiac Funders Collaborative, who have once again recommitted their investment to the city of Pontiac to the tune of $500,000. They have renewed our budget. And can we just give them a round of applause, please? Because they've been around for several years now. And I think they've done enough for us to know they mean business, right? Not just with PCIP, but with the school, with the city, with our community-based organizations. And this is something unlike anything I've seen before in my 51 years in Pontiac. A group of regional funders who have said, Pontiac, we believe in you. We want you to try this collective impact effort, and have given us now going on 4 years to make it happen. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about where we are in that process. So with respect to that, all of you know you were introduced to Strive Together some time ago. Strive Together, I don't know to what extent prior to my arrival, they really talked about the theory of action. And really that's the theoretical framework that undergirds Thrive Together's collective impact effort. And so it really is a focus on undoing systems, right? And so for those of you that were able to join, let me just stop and acknowledge the 2-day workshop we had on undoing racism at the Strand Theater. And thank you, Kyle, for allowing us to be at that amazing facility. It really was eye-opening. And for us, when you think about the theory of action, it really is about systems transformation. And you can't transform a system unless you understand the systems around education, around criminal justice, around housing disparities that really impact the lives of Black and Brown communities and create the inequities that we have experienced for years. And so one of the things that we haven't done enough that we intend to do as we move forward is we're going to highlight the racial inequities in our community that really undergird so much of the disparities around economic mobility, around education, and we hope to be able to invite Undoing Racism, the folks who participated in that. And we'll also be joining with Dustin on his work around racial equity as well, because quite frankly, when you look at this picture, what it says to me is this is really the true meaning of Pontiac. Black, brown, white, people of all hues, colors that are here that have really been a part of the struggle. And we want to make sure that as an organization, we're honoring the collective impact framework and we're moving towards systems transformation. And when you think about that, really the result of systems transformation is a partnership with system leaders, like every one of you in this room, in making fundamental and institutionalized shifts in policies, practices, resources, and power structures to eliminate structural racism and advance equitable outcomes. And we have to be unapologetic about highlighting that, because those are the things that really, you know, when you think about for many years, the General Motors really undergirded our economy, and now they're gone, right? And part of the reason why we're talking about career academies in the school and exploring careers is because we were Rust Belt city. I expected to work on the production line, right? As so many of my parents, my aunts and uncles did. And so now our youth, really, they didn't get the message that now we're transforming from those old production facilities to where Rosanna works, right? And if you haven't been there, you walk into one of the most modern GM facilities, perhaps in the country, right? And it's right here in Pontiac. And that transformation hasn't really fully gone through our school system, right? And that's why we're highlighting the career academies. That's why we need what OCC and Michigan Works is doing, but we can't just do that in a vacuum, because we can't lose sight of those wraparound supports. And so I want to also highlight the theory of action is undergirded by 5 benchmarks. And so this really gets to, when you think about where are we as an organization, think about those benchmarks, right? The first benchmark is exploring. As an organization, we've been exploring the systems, the policies, the practices that have created the conditions that currently exist, right? And I know when we first started, folks were really ready to dive in, but we didn't know who are the key partners that we really have to have at the table in order to have systems change. I look around this room and I see those partners, right? And my mindset is, how do we elevate everyone's level of expertise and purpose, where we have mutually exclusive roles, where we're not duplicating work, so we can move this work forward. And so as we move from exploring, now we're looking at emerging as an organization. And that goes through systems transformation. And don't try to read this, but this is just an overall illustration of the theory of action. You see the 5 benchmarks from left to right. And as you go down, you see the gateways that those benchmarks attempt to measure. And so I'll give you a hard copy of this so you can look at this at your leisure, but I want to also explain exploring, because this is where we've been for 2 years. In exploring communities, partnerships are identifying, and that's the key word, the structures, processes, and relationships needed to shift policies, practices, resources, power structures, and advance equitable outcomes. The difference between exploring and emerging is you go from identifying to developing. And that's where we are now. It's the whole what?
It's the whole sermon.
It's the whole sermon, yes. And so, and this is where we think we are right now. We are officially going through a process with Strive Together where we have submitted our assessment. It takes them about 8 weeks to review that assessment and get back to us by highlighting the documentation that we provide in the evidence to say, PCIP, We recognize you as a strive together network in the emerging phase or exploring phase. And so then you know where you are, and this tells you where you have to go in order to get to the next phase. So, and then the last part about that is not identifying or exploring, but making fundamental and institutional shifts in policies, practices, and resources. And so that's the ultimate goal of where we are as a leadership team, where we're trying to go, and that's our North Star. And so I wanted to highlight that so that we could really level set, right? Because in that identifying phase, we did a lot of different things, right? It may not have looked like this, and we want to level set so that it does as we move forward. And so again, going back to our priority areas, we have a framework around that I'm going to highlight quickly. Post-secondary education enrollment framework around the results. We have an equity results framework, a career readiness results, and Mr. Phillips highlighted the safety results. Because of the strategic action team, the sheriff relation team that Pastor Jones has been faithfully on, and others, and Tamika, the anti-violence team. I think there's another, I don't think as an organization, we need to create a distinctive strategy. I'm on the anti-violence team. I'm on the sheriff relations team. So we're going to compile all that, and that's going to really encapsulate our safety outcome. Which will give us an opportunity to focus on the huge task associated with working with Michigan Works, working with the school district around getting these careers off the ground, right? Because we have to develop something robust for our kid, because if we get them working in the summer, then we can also still address safety. And I think Kano highlighted that, right? If they're working, they're probably not walking the streets with a gun. And so all of our outcomes are really, they go hand in hand like that. And so this is our framework around post-secondary education, and we have 10 minutes. So I've already shared this slide with everyone. You should have received the slide deck as well as the agenda. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to go through that at your leisure, and I welcome your feedback. Please, via email, call me, let's have lunch, let's talk about it. But around post-secondary education, there are three things we're looking at: making sure that our youth have access to post-secondary education and credentialing opportunities, funding to pursue those things, and that's why Coco Mulder is here with the Pontiac Promise Zone, and that they can complete these programs. Jennifer highlighted some very attractive opportunities for jobs that are in demand, that have wages. Why can't we get our kids there? If the intellectual capital in this room can't move that number, then it's maybe we're the problem and not the kids. So I'll let you go through that just as an interest of time. And this is something I wanted to point out. I thought you will all find this interesting, right? Because when we talk about post-secondary education, the two I think we should be really looking at is OCC and Oakland University. And when you look at all the top schools where our kids have gone, most of them just have one or two students for the last 10 years. But when you look at Oakland Community College, in 2011, they enrolled 50 students. In 2022, they enrolled about 4. Oakland University in 2011, they enrolled about 9 students. In 2022, they enrolled 24. Something is peculiar about that, right? I think, I could be the only one who thinks that. I think OCC is a great place to start for our kids, especially if we're saying finances is part of the challenge, right? And so But in either case, I think we need to lean on these two institutions to provide that goal that Michigan has for 60% of our population having a credential, that goal that Oakland County has that says 80% of Oakland County should have a credential, right? And we have our Oakland 80 folks, Tanya here, Cal on the line. We have all the resources. I think we can do it. And I wanted to highlight this as well. This just gives an overview, gives you a quick look at what the Pontiac Academy of Excellence has done in terms of enrolling college students. 6 last year. In 2011, 27 students went to post-secondary education. They only have 1 year for ATAP, but out of 31 graduates, only 3 kids went. And I want us to really think about that framework that you shared, because one of the things it said was percent or number. And we have to think about which one do we want to look at. You look at 20% here, you look at a high of 50. A lot of that is adjustable based on the number of graduates that fluctuate, right? Let's look at Pontiac High School, right? They are the biggest game in town, obviously, but only 29% of the students enrolled in post-secondary education. Well, that was much higher than ATAP or PAE. But back in 2011, 41% of the graduates were entering post-secondary education. And what we have to do is, now that we have this trend of data, we need to look at a 3-year trend, or look at the 10-year trend, and obviously taking out COVID, what should it look like? What do we want the outcome of our post-secondary education in Pontiac to look like? Is 20% acceptable? Should we strive for 40%? We could probably get the military numbers as well. And the reason why I'm not saying distinctively trades, because as a body, we have to be able to measure our impact. And until we can figure out what trades program are going to put their data in a system like this, where it's reliable, where we can access it, we can't. I mean, we definitely want to highlight trades, because in talking with Chanel and I and others, Mayor Grimo, we've been talking the last couple of weeks about an opportunity with Barton Marlowe, right? A boot camp with one of the largest construction companies in the country, right? And this summer, I'll be calling my good friend Cal to say, what are your thoughts? We can do this, but we have to be strategic. We have to be data-driven. We have the data. I'm going to invite those of you again. I sent you the slide deck. Please take a look at it. And the last thing I'll cover is, our equity framework. We want to make sure that internally and externally, we are making equity the center of what we do. We want to make sure that in our promotional pieces, which, by the way, I do have a document. I think it's over there. It is. If you have a chance, take a look at it. I can't let you take it, but because it's a draft, but it is a really fine document that I don't know that. And Stuart, I know you hung on for a while, buddy. We're just running out of time. Yes, that's it. It is a beautiful strategic plan, or 2 to 3 year plan. It's 2 to 3 weeks away from you all having that in your hand. Just have to proofread it one more time, but the Grid Communications, who we've been working with now for 1.5 years, who has completely redone our website. So if you haven't been to our website, I really want to encourage you to go. Remember this, Pontiac Counts. Pontiac Counts is I'll see you, Pastor, is it is a data an area on our website that is curating data in Pontiac around our outcomes, around statistics, around demographics. We are designing it to be a go-to source for funders, for residents, for corporations looking to come into Pontiac, where they can see what's really happening in our community. And also augment that with some firsthand research from our scholars and our friends at OU who are actually doing research in those areas as well. So visit it, tell us what you think. I'm gonna stop there, and Stuart, again, I apologize, my friend. I know you had some amazing stuff
No problem.
you wanted to share, but we'll get to
Glad to be
that.
here.
And we're looking forward to that document. Before we get out of here, I just want to open it up for a couple questions. I know, Pastor, you have one in the back.
Since you raised the issue in relation to the graduation rate,
Yes.
which I think we're all concerned about, but I know this Oakland 80 has a target.
Yes.
Oakland 80 says, we want this number to achieve this goal by a certain date.
Yes.
Do we have the target for the school district, whether it's Pontiac schools or the academies or all of them? What is their target rate? What are they trying to get in relation to graduation? And can we tie that into all of these organizations that say we all are focused on it? So all of a sudden, all of us are focused on that number. You mentioned like 20 students,
Yeah.
7, 19. If we always say, guess what? Well, in 2023, we want this, 2024, we want this, 2025, that we all focus on that target. I think what would happen is we'd be saying it to the parents, saying it to the kids, saying it to the district, and we can reach it. But I don't think all of us here have, and I don't know if the school district has said, this is our graduation rate target. Because if you don't have a target, you can't reach it.
Pastor, I
It's
think
not measurable.
I think the Spirit just spoke through you, Pastor Jones, because I'm going to let Anisha close and she's going to highlight exactly what we're going to do with that. So Anisha, you just take a few minutes to really take us home.
Yep, thank you, Semino. And good afternoon, good morning, everybody. On that, to answer Pastor Jones's question, I know Superintendent had to jump off, and that information will be shared in terms of what the district's graduation rate is, so that we can all work together collectively. And with that in mind, we are planning a call to action. We're in February. The exact date hasn't been determined yet, but it will be in February of 2023, where we will meet with the community at large. That means you all are invited, as well as our community members, residents, faith-based organizations, businesses, and so forth, to hear exactly what Dr. Scott has shared today, who we are, and what we want our aim to be for the Pontiac community as a whole. So we will further discuss how we can get everyone on one accord and focused on that common agenda, making sure that all of our students particularly are graduating from high school and moving towards post-secondary enrollment, as well as being funded, as well as completion. So more information will come about that, and we'll be sure to get that to you in a timely manner.
So I'll repeat that for those
what we're working to drive, and this is so we kind of reverberate against each other.
Dominique, you need to pause, buddy.
We know the market.
So what Anisha was saying is that in February, we're going to have a call to action. We are finalizing a location and finalizing a date where we're going to invite all of you, our community members. We're going to highlight data around each of our outcomes, and we are going to establish a common agenda on something that we can all collectively work towards for an opportunity to develop a proof point for this body to demonstrate we can take an initiative and move the needle, right? We've had everything from blight, safety, housing stability, public spaces, kindergarten readiness, third grade reading, eighth grade math. What we're focusing on are 3 areas where we think we can coalesce around and move the needle to demonstrate not just to ourselves, but our funders, that we have the capacity in Pontiac to make things happen.
And I hope, Doctor, that it gives him, because what is Oakland AD's target? What the OU, Oakland University, which are in the right city, OCC, and the school district. If we're all focused on it, we can achieve the goal.
Yes.
So if in February, when you give that clarion call, we're all of you focused, this is what we're after. And understanding that goal, we're looking at it step. You know, so it's what, 2023, 24, 25. You know, we can see that.
Yeah. And so last thing I'll leave you, and I know I thank you all for giving me a couple extra minutes, and I'm gonna close right now. Because the one thing that we have to do different in 2023, and I take ownership of this, as a leadership body, we have to be more vocal, we have to be more active, we have to be more engaged. And I commit to you that I will do my part in heightening the communication. And that was in part why I hate that we missed Stewart today, because he was really gonna highlight our communications plan. His organization does phenomenal work, and I'm excited about working with them. So I will take the onus on that, but I'm asking each of you to really recommit to the day that we have this call to action, that one, you show up like you did today. One, you make a commitment to really lean in, because my goal is really to have a diverse, to make sure that we maintain the rich, diverse experiences that we all bring to the table, whether you're human services or education or city government, we all have a role to play because the need is so great. And so with that, I've already taken 5 minutes extra. I just want to say thank you. And Tom, man, I know you probably are going to the beach after this, but just thank everybody for hanging in with us today. And I look forward to emails with you should have all the dates of our leadership meetings. They've all came with the email. Our strategic action teams will start to re-engage again. And so I'm excited. I'm even more excited that I've seen so many of you today. So this is heartwarming for me. And
Thank you for you and your team's work. It's
Thank you.
very visible.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, goodbye.
Yep. I didn't check out. Ran out of time.
Great meeting, Smino.
You did awesome.